This email made me $3,871 in just 12 hours, and I didn't use AI to write a single word of it. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what this email says, break down how it made so much money, and give you the framework to copy to get the same exact result. You see, I've been writing emails for my list for about the past 4 years. I've written more than 500 email campaigns for myself and clients, and generated over multiple six figures for myself and my clients per year. And so to start, let me show you how to write these emails that not only sell, but give you credibility when you feel like an imposter. Because the best tactic to get more sales is sharing a polarizing opinion. And my opinion for this email was that human written emails outperform AI emails. But there's a little bit of a problem. You see, I'm not an AI expert, and my tech skills resemble that of a caveman, and I didn't have a lot of data to back up this claim, right? Which made me feel like an imposter. It's very common. So I needed to borrow credibility from someone who is an expert. But how do you do that? Well, I'll tell you this little-known marketing secret. I don't read the news to stay on top of politics or weather or sports, but the reason I read the news in my market is because news and media companies are in the business of getting as many eyeballs as possible on their content, no matter what the cost is, right? So before I write anything, I scroll through the news feed to try to find some sort of idea or headline or angle that not only gets my attention, but strikes an emotional reaction, right? And so that's why I searched on X, formerly Twitter, in the news, and found this gem, this post by Balaji, who co-founded and sold multiple companies for hundreds of millions of dollars and has over 1 million followers on X. And what Balaji called AI copy was lorem ipsum, which lorem ipsum is a Latin text used for placeholder for designers, meaning that the text is pretty much just garbage placeholder, right? So now I found my credibility that I could leverage from Balaji by backing up my polarizing opinion and giving me a proven idea and angle. So I wrote this email and hit send, which you can see here, which resulted in this. Check out the proof there. So how can you get the same result? Let me break it down for you in 5 easy steps. And step number 1 is going to be using news companies as your free research team. One of the core human desires is novelty. People are always yearning to experience something new, different, and refreshing, right? We daydream a lot. So finding an idea that states the opposite of the status quo will do most of the persuasion for you, right? It's going to be a new idea, the opposite idea. If you need an example, look at Mark Manson. When the entire self-help industry was just screaming, just be positive, just talk to yourself in the mirror, right? Manson wrote a book saying that those tactics are actually a recipe for disaster, and this was not only a refreshing idea, it's an idea that no one was thinking about, which resulted in Manson selling tens of millions of copies of his book, right? So, one good contrarian idea will get you attention and stand out, and you don't necessarily have to be a good writer for that, right? The idea is going to do the heavy lifting for you. So, how do you find these polarizing ideas? Well, I'm glad you asked. Like I said, I don't read the news to stay on top of politics or sports. I read the news because media companies spend millions of dollars A/B testing headlines, right? And they're not only in the business of grabbing eyeballs, they're in the business of getting those eyeballs and turning into cash. So I let them do the research for me. Just take some time every morning and scroll through the news in your market and look for headlines that not only get your attention, but trigger fear, right? And something that makes you stop, something that makes you react. And I hate to admit it, but one of those best sources to find those emotional reactions is on X, formerly Twitter. And one day I found myself scrolling the news tab and came across that tweet I showed you before from Balaji. But I found an interesting research study done on AI writing, which brings me to step number 2, credibility heisting. If you've ever typed a hot take for your content in an email and social media, then deleted it because you thought, who am I to say this? Keep watching, because I used to have the same problem until I used this trick. Let me explain. I wanted to tell my list that AI copy actually underperforms human written copy, right? And I've seen this in my own email campaigns and my clients' email campaigns. I'm not an AI expert, right? I'm not like some software developer or some, influencer that knows all these hacks. And every time I wanted to share my opinion, evil imposter syndrome would just creep in. Who's going to believe some guy with a bad neck tattoo over the entire tech industry that's screaming AI is the future? And that's when the light bulb went off. I don't need to be an expert. I just need to borrow one. So not only did I have Balaji's tweet for credibility, I could leverage his credentials, but I just needed to quote someone else, because this is only half the story. Opinions aren't proof, even if it's from someone who's an industry leader, right? A thought leader. You need something a little more. Sure, these opinions help, but it doesn't get into the nitty-gritty gritty of answering people's true objections, right? So I had to dig deeper, and that's when I found that interesting study I just told you about before on X, and it came from Neil Patel. You see, Neil Patel's team wrote 744 blog articles. Half of them were written with AI, and half were written by humans, which yielded in a result that earned me the $3,871 in 12 hours, because Patel's study proved that human content was actually not only outperforming AI written content, the human written content received 5.4 times more traffic. And I dang near had to change my trousers when I saw this, because I knew I had what I call a proof stack. And the proof stack is when you enter this into an email that really makes people believe what you're saying and back up behind your opinion. And number one, what you need for your proof stack is an expert opinion. You need hard data, and then you need your own personal opinion. But make no mistake about it, all of this proof is useless if it sits unread in someone's inbox, right? And if you're wondering how to make sure your emails get opened and read and clicked on and make sales, I built a free tool called Email CPR that analyzes your emails in seconds and tells you what's broken and how to improve it. The link is in the description below. Again, it's free. Just sign up with your email and have at it. Now, this brings me to step number 3, which is win the inbox war. So give me 30 seconds and I'll explain why the subject line is the most important part of your email, and if you get this wrong, your customers are going to ignore you. So picture this. You wake up and you arrive at the office, right? You get some coffee, you sit down, and the first thing you do is get to your laptop and you open your email. And there it is, 10, 20, sometimes 50 to 100 emails screaming for your attention. And usually those emails are from important people, clients, your boss, your friends, your family. And then there's usually those other floater emails promoting pools for kids that you don't even need. And then meanwhile, there's all these other marketers that are just spamming the same AI slop subject lines like, quick question, first name, how to be more productive. Blah, blah, blah. You get it, and you've been there before, right? And so what happens is all of these new emails blur together. But when you see a new email appear with a contrarian subject line, like you're wasting your time using AI, that's the same subject line that I used in this email that got massive open rates, right? And this subject line worked because it's contrarian. Here's why contrarian subject lines are just so awesome and you need to use them. When someone sees the opposite of what they expect, you're breaking the pattern recognition in the brain, right? Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance. But when something contradicts what you believe, your brain can't ignore it. It has to resolve the tension. So steal my dead simple tactic to write contrarian subject lines to not only boost your rates, but get sales. And what you need to do is think of the 3 biggest names in your market. What are they all saying? What do they all agree on? That's your target, right? If every guru is screaming, build a big email list, your subject line could be why I deleted half my email list. Do you see how intriguing that is? If every fitness influencer is saying walk 10,000 steps a day, and you can put why you don't need to walk your way to a 6-pack abs, it's going to really get attention, right? And so what you need to do is really understand what your market's saying and formulate a contrarian concept and use that in your subject line. So now you've got their attention, but here's where most folks drop the ball and never get paid. They forget to give the reader a reason to act now. And now is the only time that matters, right? Because the second they close your email, they're gone forever. And that's why you need step number 4, urgency stacking. You see, 97% of your readers will never come back to the email that they just read. And here's how to make sure that they act before they leave that email. Even if someone remembers to add urgency in their emails like countdown timers, limited seating, or closing the doors, it's actually not enough now, because your reader sees it and they've seen it so much, they're like, yeah, fake scarcity, get out of here. But basically the solution is easy. I always use at least 2 urgency factors. And at the end of an email, in this email, I wrote, the doors close on Sunday, 11:59 p.m. PST. And now that's 1 layer of urgency. But then I added, the next time I launch this, prices will increase by another $100. Do you see what I did there? Now my reader isn't just missing a deadline. I'm showing them the cost of inaction by stating they're going to have to pay more if they wait. There's 2 reasons to act, 2 consequences to doing nothing. And here's why that works so well. 1 urgency trigger is pretty easy to ignore. That people usually just think, yeah, okay, I'll come back to it later. But 2 urgency factors, what you're doing is giving them a mathematical reason in their head and to start feeling the pain of waiting, right? So here's how you can stack urgency in your emails. First, pick a time-based trigger, something like the doors close on Friday, or tonight at midnight, or there's limited spots available. Then just add a second trigger. Prices go up. Bonus disappears. Early bird pricing is ending soon. Stack them together and watch what happens. That's the exact formula behind why this email sold so well. But this last step is the most important one, yet most people tend to miss this. Business owners and entrepreneurs will nail the research, the credibility, they'll create fascinating subject lines and have masterful urgency, and then they'll stare at a draft for 3 hours wondering, is this good? And that's why you need step 5, which is fast action editing, right? So I'm going to tell you a dirty little secret about high converting emails. The magic does happen in the edit, but editing your own work is brutal. You second guess every word. You read it so many times, the email stuff's making sense. You ask your spouse for feedback and they look at you and they're like, yeah, it looks good. But really they're just scrolling on TikTok. Meanwhile, hours disappear and you still have no idea if this email is going to convert. So I built a free app that does all the editing for you, and it's called Email CPR. You see, you just paste your email into Email CPR and it tells you what's broken. It tells you, hey, your hook is weak. It'll flag it and it'll give you better suggestions. Soft call to action, Email CPR fixes that and gives you other options for adding urgency, as well as your subject line. If your subject line sucks, it'll give you 3 better versions, all in less than 60 seconds. And this is completely trained on emails that I've written over the past 4 years. Again, over 500 campaigns. All of my best performers have been used to train this app. So if you want to save hours of time and editing emails without wondering, is this going to convert? Then just do this. After you write your draft and the 4 steps that I showed you, run it through Email CPR before you hit send. I put the link in the description and it's completely free. It's like having a $500 an hour copywriter review your emails, except it doesn't judge you if you have typos or just use, terrible language choice. Now at this point, you might be thinking, I've got everything I need. Research, credibility, subject lines, urgency, and I've got this tool. I'm good. But consider this. None of this matters if you don't have an email list to send to. And I mean, think about it. You can have the perfect email, a great angle and idea, and still make $0 because you're sending this to an empty list. So what's the point of mastering emails if no one's reading them, right? So here's what I want you to do right now. First, grab Email CPR from the link in the description below. It's completely free. It'll save you hours of second guessing and you'll just have amazing emails getting pimped out super fast. And just paste your draft into it and it'll tell you exactly what to fix. Second, if you want to make more money from your emails and grow your email list with qualified buyers so you actually have people to send emails to, with that in mind, watch this next video. I'm going to show you 11 ways to build an email list with quality leads who are not only willing to buy from you, but capable to buy from you. So click here to check it out.